You're at a 10, we got to go to a 2 before you have
Right.
a
We're jealous
conversation.
about an Instagram picture. We're not being chased by a lion right now type shit.
Exactly.
Bitch, what I was trying to say is this situation got me so wet and so dry
at the same time.
Exactly.
What's up, bitches? Welcome back to another episode of So Wet, So Dry. I'm one of your hosts, Autumn, like the season, and I am letting life passively go by, even though I know that I'm the only agent of change.
Oh my God.
And I work in entertainment.
Okay, and I'm your other host, Fiji, like the island, like the water. I've been listening to a lot of old Lana Del Rey lately, and I work in marketing and social media.
If you guys are new here, what we do on So Wet, So Dry is we deep dive topics about sex, relationships, personal identity, all through the lens of pop culture, internet trends, and our community's experiences. We do post polls for every single episode on our Instagram, so definitely check that out at So Wet, So Dry. The O's are zeros. And wherever you're listening right now to this episode, please just stop and subscribe, follow, like, share. You know what I mean, guys? Like, that would be so cool if you guys did that.
Yes, please join our community of confused pussies. And today we are talking about jealousy in open relationships. Is it normal to experience jealousy in open relationships? Is it possible to stop experiencing jealousy? How do you cope with jealousy? All of that. But before we get into that, we're going to start the episode as we always do, talking about what we're so wet and so dry about in this very moment. And I'll go first. Okay, so I'm so wet this week because I had my friend Sean. He's one of my best friends. He lives in Nashville. He made a pit stop in Miami.
Shout out Nashville.
Shout out Nashville. He made a pit stop in Atlanta before moving to Miami because he just got a really cool job as a personal assistant for a celebrity. So I'm so fucking happy for him. And my other friend Will came, and their other friend. We met up with our little friend group. We haven't all been together in a while. We got messy. We got dinner. We got drinks. We went to all the bars. And I just love them. Like, I have a couple different friend groups, but they're one that I used to get together with, like, all the time during the work week. And it was just, like, healing, like, nice to be around friends. Like,
right.
It would break up the Monday through Friday. I mean, it would make me hungover way too often. So, like, it was refreshing after they left and I had my space back. But at the same time,
as it always
like,
is.
As it always is, because I had, like, everybody sleeping in my place. Like, a lot of people crammed into a 1-bedroom apartment. But, like, at the same time, like, I never see them. So it's not like if I were to just have a bunch of my friends in Atlanta sleep over, like, whatever. But I just love Sean so much. So it was really good to see him. And I'm so excited for his future. Like, I just always want to see my friends winning. So I'm just really happy for him.
You really do, babe. You really fucking do. And I think it's cool to have like different friends for like different vibes, like, you know, so I think that's nice that you can recognize that, and like, that's awesome. I am so wet because I don't know if you guys know this, but Fiji is a really good wing woman, and she's been pimping me out lately to like some girls, some guys, like one of them is in prison, like, I don't know, and like she really just be like saying my name in the room, you know what I mean? And she puts me on, so I'm wet about that, even though nothing is gonna happen with any of these people.
Wait, did you talk to that girl?
Yeah, and she was like, no, just
did
no.
You think you thought she was hot though, right?
I did, but then it's just like, I don't know. I just like didn't get it for her. She was like, ha ha ha. Like, I don't even remember this. I was like,
well, yeah, because I took her phone, guys. I took her phone and I was like, I DM'd Autumn from her account, and I was like, hey, it's Fiji. This girl.
I'm
like,
setting
like
y'all up. Illy is what she said. It's she said it's Fuji. Like, there was mad typos, bro. Like, but anyways, I'm just wet about it. Like, she's getting me in the girls group chat. She's getting me some pussy on Instagram. Like, she's a real bitch, you know? So I'm wet about it.
You're here in spirit, even though you're not in Atlanta. You feel me?
I know.
Okay, so what I'm so dry about, okay, this is like a very complicated situation because I'm hesitant to even say I'm dry about it because I'm half wet. So when So first of all, okay, you remember my little dude that I had like reconnected with on Hinge?
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so he has been posting like a girl on his story a lot recently. So I was like, oh, he got a new bitch. Like, and I was kind of upset about it. I was like, damn, like, what the fuck? I'm supposed to be your only bitch, like, whatever. But like, I've been putting him on the back burner. So I'm like, okay, cool, it's fine. He texted me when I was out with the rest of my friends. We linked up. We ended up fucking. It was really good. I was on my period. I wasn't black, so like that kind of sucked, but he didn't care, so he's like daddy for that. But I'm just like, we went to his place. He has a really nice place. Like, he's a good man. Like, he's so reliable, but I just feel like I'm still not over my situationship. And like, it doesn't even fucking matter because I know he's seeing this other girl too, and I don't really care. Like, we were never like that. Like, it's fine.
Right.
But I just like he wants to hang out with me this weekend, and he's been trying to make plans with me, and he always like makes fun of me because he's like, oh, you say you're gonna hang out and you never do. And I don't know why I don't, because we have good chemistry. He has money, he has a place, he's a nice guy. I'm comfortable with him. He has a car. Like, there's no red flags here.
And he's sexy?
Yes, I like having sex with him. Like, we have good chemistry. Like, and that's why I'm like, I said I wanted a situationship, but then I have like the perfect opportunity for one without commitment with someone I've been like fucking with on and off for a year. This is the first time we fucked though. And I'm like fucking it up. So that's why I'm like, if he goes away, like if he got a bitch, I would have been like mad about it because I'm like, you're supposed to wait for me. But at the same time, I can't be. But at the same time, he's not even going away. He's still hitting me up. So I don't know what to do. I haven't talked to my therapist this week either.
But I'm confused, bitch. Exactly. What's the problem?
I don't know what the problem is. I feel like it's almost that he's like too good. You know? That it like, not that it turns me off.
Because what does Sean say that you are? He's like, he wasn't giving you trauma eyes or something?
Exactly.
So does he not give you trauma eyes?
I mean, he's definitely like, he still has some like bad boy qualities. Like, it's not like he's just a little goody two shoes like finance bro. Like, he's not that.
You're right. Okay.
I don't know. I really think it's that I'm not over my situationship. And
really, bro? Really?
Yes, because I'm like, when I think about like giving up half of my Sunday, because the other half I have to edit, do I want to give it up to, like, I'm comfortable with this guy, but not comfortable enough to give up my Sunday. But the last dude I was with, I was so used to hanging out with him on the regular that it was fine. So I don't know if I miss him as much as just the pattern we were in. Mm-hmm. Versus this feels like, you know how we were talking about getting out of your comfort zone when you're being remote and you're used to your own space. Like, I really feel like that's what it is. And that's why the only reason we linked was because I was already out with other people.
But it wouldn't have happened if you were just at home.
Exactly, because there's been 1,000 opportunities and every time I'm like, oh yeah, and then I dub it. So
dude,
it's like,
that makes so much sense though.
But like, I could be getting good dick with like a nice guy that's not pressuring me for commitment or anything like that. But like, I don't know. I don't know if I want it anymore. I don't know.
Oh my fucking God, bitch. That's crazy to me. I really believed you. Like, I thought you really wanted it. I hope it's not that you're not over him, but maybe
I think it is. I think it is.
Okay, well, that's fine. We'll work through it. We know. But that's wet that you got some sex. Like,
I know. On my period, too. I was like, ugh, but
yeah,
we're
that's
gonna
crazy.
have soul ties, so.
But it's fine. That's fine.
It's fine.
Okay, well, my dry is like pretty stupid. I don't really have anything, but I just like I'm really lacking like music right now, so I really wanted to just ask the followers, the listeners, the supporters to drop some songs below for you, girl. I really will look. I need new music. Like, I'm feeling uninspired, so help a bitch out.
Okay. You know what I do whenever someone that like
what do you do?
Whenever someone that like looks cool like posts like an aesthetic picture with a song on their story, I like look it up. So I definitely like steal their music. And also like Spotify has those new swipe features.
I know. I do like those. And I do like the mixes that Spotify makes for me sometimes too.
Like Release Radar and like Mood.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's
Release
just the stuff
Radar
you have on your playlist. So I'm like,
okay, yeah. All right, so let's get into this episode. As Fiji said, today we are talking about jealousy, specifically when it comes to jealousy within an open relationship. And as you guys may or may not know, I do have experience in this, so it's really my time to shine, you feel me? But we're going to start off just by defining what jealousy is. Not like, we all know what fucking jealousy is, but in terms of the open relationship, like what really is that,
Mm-hmm.
So I watched a bunch of YouTube videos on this because it really is a popping topic on YouTube. And so this YouTube channel is called By Touch of Flavor. And they did a video called How to Handle Jealousy and Polyamory. But I did like how they defined jealousy in that video. And they basically talked about jealousy rather than being one sole emotion. It's rather an umbrella term for multiple emotions to exist at once. You got loneliness, you got anger, you got insecurity, you got sad. Like you got.
Wait, can I ask a question within that? Like,
of course.
What's the craziest? Because I feel that I've definitely been jealous and pissed the fuck off.
Right.
And I've been sad as fuck. So what's the craziest jealous you've been emotion wise? Not necessarily the situation, but you can say the situation too. But
I would say a combination of anger and mania, being manic.
Yes.
Because we all, I dabble in that. We both dabble in that. So I would say it's that, and it's more but the anger jealousy is, and of course it's it's not really anger. At the end of the day, you dig deeper, and it probably really is insecurity or whatever. Mm-hmm. But I think the anger with the combination of mania.
Yeah, you just want to go out or
I've been pacing, shaking, screaming.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. Yes.
And irritable as fuck. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's jealousy is it's a lot of emotions rather than just one thing. And this YouTube channel, they were honestly, when talking about jealousy in open relationships, don't even use the word jealous as I feel jealous. Say more I feel angry, that sort of thing, because it could help you more.
Right.
And that's what they recommend. They think using that word is not helpful at all. And then so next I do want to kind of define open relationships as well, because I've done ethical non-monogamy. That's the only thing I have experience in. That's the only thing I can speak on. That's the only thing I've done. But in terms of open relationships, poly relationships, there's a lot of different words you can use. And I'm going to link this article below. I'm not going to really define every type of open relationship there is, because that's not this episode. We are talking about jealousy. But I will just list them off. And then if you guys are curious, we will link that article below, and it does explain them. And if you, Fiji, if you think we should define one of them that you're confused about, we can. Yeah, because
some of these, they kind of make sense, but go ahead.
Yeah, I pulled this from essentially an online magazine situation. Like I said, I'll link it below. Okay, so we got hierarchical.
I think that's when you have a primary partner, you have a secondary partner.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Exactly. There's a hierarchy. Yeah. I can't say hierarchical. What is? Anyways, so there's that. There's solo polyamory. There's thruples. There's closed V. There's quad. There's polyfidelity. There's monogamish. There's don't ask, don't tell, and then there's swingers, bitch. And there's more on that list. Etc. Because there's different kinds, and it's all, and you can create your own open relationship with boundaries. You know what I mean? And it's you don't need to label it, but it is kind of fun to see. These are the more, and some of them it's don't ask, don't tell. It's self-explanatory. It's
that's my
you do
favorite,
what you want, you don't ask, don't tell. Yeah.
Yeah. But wait, what is, solo polyamory, just real quick, doesn't make any sense to me, because how can you be solo but polyamorous?
Right. So solo polyamory essentially is the polar opposite of the hierarchy polyamory. Solo poly folks don't need or want a primary partner, and many describes themselves as their primary relationship. So the hierarchy polyamory, that's the shit I like. The primary partners, you don't have secondary partners, but it's there's that one. I mean, you could. But I guess solo polyamory is your primary relationship is the one with yourself, and everything else is kind of even.
So lot of people are low-key doing that, because if you think about it, if you're out here fucking a couple different people and like, whatever, and I feel like a lot of guys do that where they try to like keep it on the low and like whatever.
Right,
You're
like that's
kind
what
of
they're
practicing
doing,
it,
quote unquote.
but you're not. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And then the last one I just want real quick is, what the fuck is a closed V?
Closed V. Great question. The closed V is a handy way of describing the dynamics of a poly relationship where two people share a romantic and sexual connection with the third, but not to each other. Makes sense? That's what it says. Okay, so the dynamics were two.
Okay, so it's like if me and you were both dating George,
but
me
we
and you
don't.
aren't fucking, but we're related in the V.
Okay, so it's like
So
me and
George
you aren't
is the
fucking
vagina, but like he's
so
the
we don't
body.
have sexual or romantic. We have nothing.
We have nothing.
But we both are partners with someone. Like we have a mutual. Okay, a closed V.
So that's like almost like not, what is it? Polygamy-ish. Because with polygamy, isn't it that one partner is the like only one that can have sex with multiple people?
Right, sometimes.
But polygamy is essentially like it can be culty because it's like the guy that has like multiple women. So like they could be a closed V or a closed W. No.
Right.
Which
is not something I don't think either of us would really be interested in. Right. I'm like more about that like even equal lifestyle.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so we can link that article down below if you guys want to like read more about different types of open relationships. But at the end of the day, I say create your own. You know what I mean? Like it's really just about what works best for you and your partner. You can do anything you want. All right, guys. So let's talk a little bit about like a brief history on non-monogamy, jealousy, all that shit. Mm-hmm. It may surprise you to find out that monogamy has not always been the norm, okay? And that the reason we do monogamy has nothing to really do with relationships and jealousy at all. It really just has to do with this historical shit. So in this article, I read about how we tend to think about monogamy or the expectation that we can only share love with one other person. And this idea has origins from the Roman Catholic Church. Essentially, how we think about monogamy or the expectation that we can only share love with one other person essentially has origins from the Roman Catholic Church, is what this article said. We are not historians. I did this research. Anyways, so essentially it says in Roman society, it became a law that a man could only take one legal wife. And this was not because it was good for human relationships, not because they were like, oh, we can only fuck one person, but because it was good for the social economy. Like everything else, it all comes back to fucking money and all that bullshit. So it's basically like this law prevented elite males from monopolizing all of the eligible women and ensures there were enough women to become wives of lesser men, like blah, blah, blah. And then essentially over generations, more children were born because of monogamous unions, which further expanded the population of Roman civilization. It was an efficient way of growing the population quickly and creating taxpayers and productive social units. So essentially, and it says up until about 800 AD, it was common even for priests to have multiple wives and mistresses. And the church, however, was concerned that the offspring of these relationships would drain the church of money and wealth. So basically, like all this shit just about money, essentially. And the church was like the reason. They were the ones that like really demanded sex only to be used for procreation, and that should only happen between one man and one woman. Sex as pleasure of the flesh was denounced, and so began the Dark Ages, blah, blah, blah.
Okay, so this is interesting. As you know, guys, I have a lot of fucking experience.
I knew
with
she was
church
going to like this shit, bro.
Because I went to 2 Catholic schools, 1 Jewish school, and 2 congregational churches. So when I was growing up, I had a lot of religion shit. But what's interesting to me is like, if you're Christian, if you're any sort of Christian, you probably know like the 10 commandments. And one of them is thou shalt not covet your neighbor's wife, which is like, you shouldn't be jealous. Like jealous is like a bad emotion. And also it's like cheating and shit like that. But, and it's been a while since I've done any sort of religious shit. I'm pretty sure, and audience, correct me if I'm wrong, the 10 Commandments are also part of Judaism. Like, Jewish people follow it because that's like before Christ.
Right.
So but you know how so much of like religion is wrapped up in government and all of that. So I'm like, it makes sense that they would be like, oh, because, you know, the whole religious thing is like, you only love one God, because before it was like paganism with like multiple gods. So it's like one God, one woman, like whatever, and grow the population. But I'm like, are the 10 Commandments from God or are they from religion? I don't know. I just really want to know because.
I know. And I think it's crazy that like, I mean, I don't think it's crazy, but it's essentially like they're saying from this, like these monogamous relationships, more children were born and it was expanding the population. But does that even make sense? I don't
Well,
get
that's why they're trying to do all the abortion laws. And it also is on some racist shit too, because, you know, we're all eventually white people are going to be gone or whatever, because we're all going to mix and have like multiple babies and shit. And people are also waiting. The most people waiting to have babies are white women. So whatever. But yeah, that does make sense, because that's why they fucking police women's bodies so much, because it has to do with like growing the fucking economy. Like we're sheep and cows and not human beings.
and
That's
we're
crazy.
like God's like servants to like make sure we're like fulfilling our like duty of like giving birth and like being in these. I'm watching The Handmaid's Tale right now.
Yes.
So it's very like, but I'm like, this is literally what it's giving.
But
Bro, that
also
show is so good.
shows that women have all the power low key, because men could not like maintain themselves. Like women would seduce them and come up and like whatever the fuck, and then priests would spend all their money and da-da-da-da. So again, it's patriarchy's fault.
Right.
We're not the smart ones. We have too much power.
Right. Yeah. So it's just interesting to see where it comes from, because this is mostly about monogamy and non-monogamy, but it's like the part about the expectation that we can only share love with one person. Like that's been so ingrained in like all of us. And it's just not true. Most like everything else that's ingrained with you living in the United States. Like it's just simply
It's about
not
capitalism.
true.
That's crazy. Wow.
I know. All right. So now we did put out polls for this episode. And so the first poll that we're going to do is we just basically asked y'all, have you ever been in an open relationship before? So 81% of y'all said no, and 19% said yes, you have been in an open relationship. So obviously way more of you have not. But it's cool because I have faith that there are listeners out there that have. So
yeah, I mean, it kind of lines up with how we talked about monogamy being like the quote unquote norm or like accepted whatever in society. Like, I think there's still a big ass stigma.
Right.
And I mean, I haven't done it. So,
yeah.
You know. But the next one is, if you haven't, would you ever explore it? And majority still, 62% said no. But 24% said yes, and 14% said maybe. So we've got like a 60-40 on the no, yes/maybe. And I think a lot of people, it's really just like more education about it. Like I've always been interested in it because I remember in high school I read this book. It was like a fiction book, but it was they were in like a non-monogamous relationship, and it was like queer too. Like I forget the name, but like this person was like a shadow. Yeah, like
in high school?
Yeah, because the person like in the book was like genderless. Like they didn't I don't know how to explain it. I wish I remember the name of the book, but it was a pretty popular book.
Honestly.
It was a young adult one. Yeah,
I'm trying to read it.
Right. So I remember like thinking about that, and one of my friends at the time, Jake, who you know, like we had talked about, like he's super smart, and like we had talked about it, whatever. So then when I met you and you were doing it, I was like, oh, this is cool. But you were the first person I knew that I think that had really was like practicing it. But I'm definitely like open to it. Not all types, but certain types. But I do think it's really about the person, and like you do have to educate yourself a lot.
You do have to educate yourself a lot. It's 100% about the person. And yeah, I think it's just like, I think for me, it's like, it'll just align. I don't think it's something that I need in my next relationship. But I feel like if I do meet someone who is into open relationships, it'll kind of like confirm, okay, yeah, like this is, You know? So I'm down for either. Like, we'll see what happens. You know what I mean? But speaking of the stigma, Fiji, which you just brought up, great transition. I do want to talk a little bit about the stigma, not of polyamory and open relationships, but the stigma of like being jealous within an open relationship. And also a little bit, is it normal to be jealous in an open relationship? Because everyone thinks like you're in an open relationship, like you're cool, right? Like we're all cool. Like no one's jealous about anything. Like that's why you guys are in that open relationship. You're so evolved.
And I feel like that's one of the biggest arguments against it, or when people talk about why they wouldn't do it, they're always like, oh, well, I would just get too jealous. Like as if people who are in them just don't.
Right. And like there's this stigma that it's like, you need to get over jealousy and move past all jealousy feelings in order to be successful in an open relationship. And it's simply not true, my friends. It's really not. And I'm guilty of this because I kind of thought the same. I was like, my first relationship being open, I was like, there's no way that I'm going to be able to do this. Like, I'm the most jealous bitch alive, bro. And I definitely was very jealous during that.
Territorial. I feel like you're more territorial versus jealous.
Because, like, with friends, too. And, like, that's tracked. Like, through high school, like, not just you. Like,
I'll never forget one time we were at Explore Tour, and I think I was, like, talking to one of our friends more than you. And Autumn literally got so mad at me. But, like, valid. Like, you know you're number one. Like,
wait, but what the fuck? I don't remember that, but I 100% believe it.
It was with Gigi. We were there, like, in the middle of the day.
Oh, okay, yeah. Because I was low-key a little
And I remember
jealous
you just, like, went outside to smoke a cigarette with mad attitude. And I was like, bro.
Bro, because why were we? Oh, my God. Yeah. So, example, yes, that is how I am. So, it's like I really thought. I was like, yeah, there's no fucking way. And it's also just like, I wanted to say too, like it can build up a lot of guilt, like feeling jealous in these open relationships. And it's almost like worse because you're like feeling jealousy, but it's like you're not really supposed to because you're in this evolved, like somewhat taboo type of relationship. So I always just felt like I'm doing polyamory wrong. I'm doing open relationships wrong because I'm still having breakdowns about my partner communicating that she hooked up with someone last night. And so I would feel like I like wasn't like worthy of doing openness, like to get deep, but it's like that's how I felt because I just felt like it's normal to get jealous in monogamous relationships because you're closed off from everyone. You can only fuck each other. But in open relationships, it's like, yeah, but you chose to do that. So like, why would you like make yourself want to be jealous, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, but I do think it is like, even how we were talking about before, I almost like kind of disagree with like the video you were talking about where they were saying don't use the word jealousy, use like anger, sadness, whatever, because I feel like, of course you do. For me, it's almost the opposite where it's like I'll get angry manic. Like I remember recently I got angry manic about a person I'm not even fucking with anymore because a bitch commented on his picture and I literally had to take a walk and go get a bottle of wine and like whatever. But I'm like angry about it, like so pissed off. But if I got to the root of it, it's jealousy and it's insecurity. And I feel like it's better for me to label that because I'm like, okay, like I'm not angry, I'm jealous, and it's okay to be jealous, but like I can get over that. But that's just me. I don't know for everybody.
That's just you, right? And I feel like it's because you're not like looking at jealousy as like how a lot of people look at it, which is like the worst thing ever, you know? And I kind of look at it like that. Like I personally like I'm fine to never use that word again because I think I really use it when I know that it's not really jealousy, it's something else.
It's insecurity too.
Right. Yeah. And it's like I was in my open relationships like knowing that and like knowing that this jealousy, like it's not really jealousy because when I think about her like fucking someone else, like yeah, it makes me a little uneasy, but what makes me more uneasy is the fact that she might be fucking her better than I could, or she looks better on top of her than I do.
But isn't that jealousy?
It's like, it's jealousy, but it's more like I'm just not, like, I'm not comfortable with where I'm at in my life. I'm not secure with who I am.
Right.
So I don't even think that I am jealous of that bitch. I think I'm jealous of the fact that, like, you know, she's able to like just be sexy and free and I'm not. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, see, I think that's the thing, because I would still look at that as jealousy, but I would think of the healing for that as building your confidence and healing your insecurity.
Right.
But it's like whatever works
either
for
way.
you. But it's like either way, like definitely like with open relationships, I feel like both people in them sometimes or people outside of it think that you have to reach this point of like godlike ascension where you just don't feel any attachment or anything towards anyone. And that's not true. When you're in intimate relationships, of course, you're going to feel attached and you're going to be a little bit triggered. Some abandonment wounds are going to come up, some stuff.
Right.
You know?
Like, it's normal. And like that brings it into it. Like, is feeling jealous in open relationships normal? And like, I think it definitely is. Jealousy is a human emotion. Just because you're in an open relationship doesn't mean jealousy isn't there. I would say it's like, it's talked about so much. Like me and my partner would talk about, you know what I mean? Like, it's like we were always talking about it. And so that same YouTube video, Flavor of Truth or whatever, they basically said having jealousy occasionally is normal. Having jealousy too much and not communicating about it is problematic. It's the problems underneath the jealousy that can end up be so damaging. The key is to understand jealousy and you will be able to put that guilt behind you. So I don't know, because I think when I was in my open relationship, like I was having jealousy a lot and I was communicating it probably like 75%, like a good amount. I don't think it's bad to be like jealous a lot if you know that like if you're doing the work of where it's coming from and you're communicating with your partner. Like, I feel like it's like, because I felt so much shame about like feeling jealous about certain things. And I really don't think it's like as harmful as everyone makes it seem. Like, if you are communicating it and you have like a healthy partner, you know, like it's not the end of the world. Like,
right, because part of me feels like, and it's like, I've never been in an open relationship, so I don't really know. Like, it's easier for me to, like, romanticize it and think that, like, it's better because I've only ever been in monogamous relationships. But, like, I think in a monogamous relationships, a lot of times you, like you said, you know what jealousy is, or you have these certain, like, codes of what monogamy is, so you just completely ignore jealousy. Or if one person gets jealous, it's like, oh, how could you accuse me of cheating? I'm not cheating. And that's not even what it is. Sometimes it's just the person feels like insecure or whatever, and they need to talk it out with their partner, or they need to do the inner work. Versus in like healthy polyamory relationships, like sometimes there's more of like a conversation about it where it's like, okay, like if you feel weird about the fact that I just told you I hooked up with someone, take your space, that's normal. But if you want to talk, like, I'm here. Like, unless it gets to a point too much where they're like so not okay with it, then it's like you shouldn't be together. Right. But like that type of feeling both of you can relate to, because you know you're seeing each other as whole human beings that have different attractions and different relationships outside of just this like cult of monogamy.
Right. And I remember with my first partner, and we were in an open relationship, they wanted me to tell them like everything I did with someone else that was like sexual or romantic or like whatever it is. So I remember like literally I was like about to get on the Orange Line in Boston. I was like on the phone with them. And I was like, yeah, so like I hooked up with someone last night. It was the same night you had your first lesbian sex experience. I was telling them about this moment, and I was like, yeah, I was like, you actually know her, and like this is what happened. Like I wasn't even that into it, but like, yeah. And I remember them being just like, okay, okay, thank you for telling me, like, I do want to take space. And then they didn't talk to me for like 14 hours. But they weren't mad. They were just like, but I'm just like, and then I remember like, being like, damn, so why are we doing this to ourselves? Like, why are we making each other sad? Like, is it really worth it? But it's like they were the ones that were pressing.
It's sad though, because like that's how I cope with shit. Like even. And I feel like it's caused me issues in relationships or whatever. But, like, if something upsets me, like, I know how angry I can get and how, like, manic and how, like, whatever. And the last thing I want to do is take it out on someone. So the healthiest thing for me to do would be to take space. And for you, it's probably like, oh, my God, they're abandoning me. Because, like, I want to feel like, isn't the whole point that I can tell you and you still love me?
Right.
But people deal with it in different ways. Like,
I know.
You know, but because I can
and
understand.
I was like, what the fuck? I was like, so now, like, I'm getting, like, punished and we can't talk anymore because I did what you want me to do and be in this fucking open. Like, because I was not ready back then. This was like, having an open relationship as your first relationship is fucking crazy after growing up in a society like this. You know what I mean? Like, it's fucking weird. And I did it. I wasn't the one that proposed the idea. I was the one foolishly in love and didn't, like, I was like, okay.
And like, they were way more experienced. You were like, I thought this is how it's supposed to go. Like, what the fuck? Like.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's, so, but to bring it all back, jealousy is very normal. Okay. And as long as you talk about it, like, you're good. Like, we don't need to demonize it that bad. Like, we don't need to demonize it that bad. Like, it doesn't mean you have zero self-respect. Like, it's not that deep. Like, depending, you know? But I do want to get into our next poll because we asked y'all, do you think jealousy comes up more often in open relationships than in monogamous relationships? Juicy question, am I right? And 63% of y'all said yes, and 37% of y'all said no. And in terms of, do you think jealousy comes up more often in open relationships than monogamous relationships? I think we kind of meant like, is there more conversations about jealousy, or are people getting jealous more? And both of those are like, I mean, it's kind of the same thing. But I would say yes, but maybe in like a healthier way than I think y'all might have been thinking, because I think people think about open relationships. It's like, fuck yeah, there'd be more jealousy. Like, you're fucking whoever you want, like blah, blah, blah. But it's not really like that. You're not really fucking whoever you want. Like, you do have like, you know, like it's not as much of a free for all as like people think it is. But I think jealousy does come up more in open relationships only because it's so important to like communicate boundaries and what you're cool with and what you're not cool with. So I think yes, but in a healthy way. I think monogamous couples be getting jealous over the dumbest shit I've ever heard in my life.
Right. So that's why I read the question differently, honestly. Like, when I thought, like,
it's all for interpretation.
Yeah, because I was thinking more like comes up emotion-wise.
Right.
And so I voted no, but I think the conversation happens more, definitely. Right. But I think that it's healthier because, like, I mean, like I said, just monogamous relationships, but like I've been with partners that have cheated on me before or like hid things. And like I said, like how I deal with things, I think is separating myself. And I also can get into these manic, like super emotional, like whatever, like obsessed with like stalking this bitch's profile to figure out what the fuck was happening and da-da-da-da. But like for me, I think it's a control thing where it's like, I just want to know what's happening. And if I know what's happening, I can deal with it because I can like make peace with it. And it's part of like, you know, detach, bitch, whatever. You don't always need to know what's going on. Get out of the fucking relationship. But the part that appeals to me about non-monogamy is that you either have like this, okay, we discussed it's don't ask, don't tell, so I can let go of it. Or we discussed they're going to tell me, so I just need to trust that they're going to tell me, or like whatever. So I like that whole conversation thing because for me as a person that I think like likes to have control or likes to like box my emotions and like place them so I can deal with them.
That's a turn on to you about it.
Yeah, that's what makes it like, okay, like this seems more structured than monogamy in a weird way, because monogamy, like as much as we're like, oh yeah, just one person, it's so vague. Like, is liking someone's story cheating? Is sticking your
having a quick banter at a bar with someone and then never seeing them again cheating? Like, I don't know.
But with polyamory and open relationships, you have to have those conversations. So, you know.
Do you think like if there wasn't such a stigma on open relationships of it being like, because I think there is a stigma of it being almost like a stressful situation to put yourself in. I mean, I definitely thought it was when I first did it for the first time. I was like, I often had thoughts, why am I doing this to myself? Like, this hurts a lot.
Yeah.
But granted, I was 19 and 10 times more insecure than I am now. And I still wouldn't call myself the most secure person. But back then, whoo, baby. Like, I was like, you know what I mean? So back to my question. Do you think that like if there wasn't that stigma and like people didn't think a certain way that they think about open relationships, you'd be more inclined to try? Or do you feel like it's like more of like a loyalty thing? Like you feel like
me personally?
Yeah, I'm asking you.
Because I have proposed it before. Like my
Right.
ex that lived in London, like we were going to be in different countries in different time zones, like 6 hours apart. And I said,
Hello.
like, I didn't, like, honestly, me, like, I do say all the time, like, I'm a very loyal person, and that, like, I feel like when I have a partner, like, I just want to be with them, but I'm also, like, a flirty person. Like, if I go out, like, I'll probably be flirty, but, like, in terms of, like, having sex and stuff like that, not as much. But I was thinking about it more in terms of him, and also just distance is hard, and I didn't want to ruin our relationship over the fact that we couldn't have sex for 6 months or longer at a time. So, like, I had proposed it, and he was like, no, I don't want to do this, da, 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 da. And then he ended up cheating on me. So, like, I'm for it. And, like, even with my last situationship, like, I thought, like, a don't ask, don't tell thing would have worked better. Like, we weren't necessarily, like, committed, like, whatever. Like, I'm still very open to it, but I think I like more of the type of open relationship where it's, like, I'm probably not going to be out here fucking whoever.
Right.
But I want, like, the ability to, like, flirt with whoever and, like, that kind of stuff.
And that's what's so interesting, too, because, like, I feel like for me, too, it's been, like, I feel like I was doing less than my partner was. Like, my partner was maybe having more sexual experiences or whatever, like, flirting with more people. But I felt like that ride or die shit where I was like, I genuinely didn't want to fuck anyone else. I was so, like, obsessed with fucking them. But I liked that I could. Like,
right.
Sometimes that's enough for people. It doesn't and that's the stigma. It's like people think you're in an open relationship. It's like a fuck. It's really horny people. They're fucking all the time. But, like, for me and for a lot of other people, it's, like, just the peace of knowing that I could if I wanted to is, like, enough.
It
like,
feels
you know?
freeing. Because,
Right.
like,
Hello?
to think that, like, you could have a night out and accidentally, like, not accidentally, but, like, do this one thing or whatever, and then you're ruining, like, the 3 years that you built with this person is, like, an insane thing. Like, we demonize cheating so much and, like, all this stuff. And obviously trust is important. Like, I'm not saying cheating is, like, a light thing.
Right.
But
Because it's not.
Right. But the other thing I was going to say, and, like, correct me if I'm wrong, but you're talking more about your relationship with the man, right? Because when you were with the first one, the girlfriend, I think that you kind of sought out sexual relationships to fill a void and feel like, oh, I'm...
Why are you going to...
Like, we don't have to talk about it, but, like,
and that's the thing, though. A lot of that was, like, on purpose. I was trying to train myself to kind of care less. I was training myself to be open to more than one person at once because I was so conditioned, like, that's a big no-no. But it's, like, arguably, like, I was breaking a boundary because if you don't really want to fuck someone and you're just doing it to, like, you know, but I think with my first partner, they had, like, more romantic shit with other people.
Right.
I didn't have any. With my boyfriend, with my ex-boyfriend, same thing. I didn't have any romantic, and he for sure did. Like, he's a fucking liar. So, like, because our boundary was, like, to just do sex, not romance shit. And then, you know what I mean? Like, and so I feel like, yes. But you're right. Like, but I really think with my first partner, I was, like, seeking out those experiences to try to, like, make myself more equipped to be a better poly person.
And I feel like I did that with my ex, my, like, most recent, like, long-term ex that was cheating on me and, like, all this stuff because, like, so much of our relationship was on and off. So, like, we would end things. I would be pissed because I just found out about some shit. Like, whatever, I'm manic, I'm angry. I go out, I fuck someone that I don't really want to fuck, but I need to feel like I'm a bad bitch and I need to feel like I can do whatever I want and I can, you know, do better than you. And, like, that's not healthy because it's not healthy for you either. Like, as a person, like, it's not filling any void. It's making the void bigger.
Yeah.
You know?
And I think on some toxic shit, too, like, I remember, like, because, like, when me and my first partner started this open relationship, we were in Europe for, like, 2.5 months living together. Mm-hmm. So our kind of thing was also, like, if we're together, like, we're not flirting with other people right in front of each other.
Right.
And we were together 24/7 because we were traveling.
Yeah.
And then when we got back to Boston or whatever, that's when it's like, okay, the poly really gonna start now.
Yeah.
Because
and you were
now
in different cities too.
Well, at first they were still in Boston though. At
Yeah.
first, before they moved to New York, we were both in Boston. I remember I was at the restaurant we both used to work at, and they called me during a shift, bro, to tell me, like, I just want you to know, like, I hooked up with someone last night, because that was our...
Okay, that because low-key, just before you finish the rest of the story, I had a friend do this to me recently. It was not recently, it was a few months ago, but they were seeing someone and they had done something bad, and they were like, I'm gonna go tell them, what should I do, and that their person was at work. And I was like, do not tell them right now. Like, timing, guys, like, timing is so important. So important. Anyway, go on.
I got really mad at them for that. Like, I was like, are you fucking... I was hostessing. I was the face of the restaurant. I cannot be crying right now. Like, I was in the bathroom like, oh, what's up? Like, thinking something happened. It's so important. You have to call me right the fuck now. And I think because initially our agreement was we are going to tell each other, right? Yeah. Because that was so important to them that I did. I was like, you know what? Like, let's just have it be equal then. Like, I want, like, you know? Yeah. And then after that day, I remember on the phone being like, thanks for telling me. But, like, my new boundary is I don't want to know. Yeah. So I never want this to happen again. And then they ended up, like, feeling really bad. Like, the timing was bad. But for them, it was, like, an anxious thing. Like, they had to tell me. They felt
them
like
not being secure.
They felt like they were cheating, like, before, like, they had to tell me. And I think ultimately that's why they didn't work. I think that person, like, they really need someone that's, like, gonna have it all out there. Like, I think a big reason why we didn't work is because I was telling them what I was doing. But I didn't allow them to tell me what they were doing. Yeah. And then ultimately we broke up because they had to tell me they were
hiding part of their life. And like, and I get that because it, like, I don't
That's
know.
Why they were like, that's not poly to me because I'm hiding it. But it's like to them, right? You know, it's like that doesn't make you feel, yeah. So, yeah.
But that's like, because the part that I like about the poly shit is like, I'm recognizing that you're this whole other person that has these other experiences and I can still love you and know that like our connection is still solid even if you make out with someone else. Like, I like that fact, but like the thought of knowing and just like knowing my impulses, like I'm gonna want to look that person up on Instagram. Like, I know I'm gonna be paranoid. Like, I'm gonna look at their stories. Like, that shit, it's like more of a like you have to deal with that, and it's a self-control thing. And I think it still happens in monogamous relationships, but like open relationships really challenge you in that way to be like, because you're unlearning everything you've been brought up with. Like,
and I think my ex-boyfriend and I liked it better in the sense that we both were, he was very like, I definitely don't want to fucking know what you do with another, like and I felt the same way. And our boundary was like, if it comes something romantic that you have feelings, I like from the beginning, I told him, I was like, the boundary is if you start to feel romantic, you have feelings, I need you to tell me. Mm-hmm. And when you do tell me no, that I'm going to leave immediately once you tell me.
But see,
that's how we ended.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
At least he did, like.
And I stuck to my boundary and I actually did leave because at the beginning he was still trying to have me be a side piece, like whatever. And I was like, no, like I thought I was the main one. Like, what the fuck happened? So but I think I liked that dynamic better of the don't ask, don't tell. And it's just whatever works for you.
Yeah. But yeah, when you were saying like he wanted you to be a side bitch type shit, that reminded me also of my ex, because like it was so weird in the sense where I had also with him at one point early brought up that maybe we should be open because he was like, oh, like I just think, you know, I want multiple bitches, like he was trying to make me a side bitch. And I was like, that's not fair. And I'm never doing that. Even if I wasn't going to hook up with other people, like, I'm like, no. And then that's what I think caused him to be so insanely jealous throughout our relationship. But it's just like so weird. And I feel like a big thing with men is that they want to have multiple bitches and side bitches and they want you to be loyal to them, but them not to be loyal to you. And that's why it's like, it's just like, if more people learned about this, I think men could, because I can respect a man who's like, no, you know, I want multiple bitches. And I'm like, okay, you know yourself, you know what your don't ask, don't tell is, you know what, whatever. And I can respect that more. At least you follow it, even if I'm not happy with it, versus you being mad at me for bringing it up when you're like doing it, but in a non-ethical way, you know?
Right. And that's why I always joke to say with my ex-boyfriend, like, we weren't open, like, you were just trying to control me. Because, like, he would joke, like, I can only fuck bitches, I can't fuck other men. But I didn't listen to that.
Right.
I didn't. But I also, so did I, you know
did.
what I mean?
I mean, because you...
Like, the strip club doesn't count, though.
But, like, when you came to... Did you guys break up?
Yeah, I did.
And
then we broke up 5 days later.
Right.
That
And
was like
maybe
the
that was
only
part of
time.
it.
And right at the beginning, when I was living like in a different part of LA, I like fucked the neighbor, but his dick was so small. That
I
was
remember.
that was horrible. I was like,
and then
that's
that's why I get so mad.
I
at
couldn't
myself
even
when
feel
I
that
flirt
shit
with
in my
doorman. Because I'm like, then you have to walk by their place. You can't like be
Fuck
home.
that.
You can't fuck your neighbor.
He was like friends with my neighbor though, so it was like a little bit better. But he still lived really close by. But anyways, yeah. So that's, a man trying to control you and have mad bitches and like be low key about it is not open, you know? So let's just get that out. Mm-hmm. But I think we should just do our last poll. Do you want to read it? You can read it.
Sure. So our next poll is, what's the biggest reason people tend to feel jealous in open relationships?
Dun, dun, dun.
And the one that won was they're not doing what they truly want to in life at 42%.
Ding, ding, ding.
Right. And then at 29%, their partner is hooking up with too many people.
Wah,
at
wah,
25%, if it's healthy, there won't be any jealousy. And only 4% they're insecure. And I'm honestly surprised about this because I get like, it makes sense, like talking to you and like your experiences. I'm like, duh, I should think it's because they're not doing what they really want to in life, because a lot of them are one-sided. Like one person falls in love with another person and tries to mold themselves to be like this.
Right.
Ish, But I voted for, if it's healthy, there won't be any jealousy. And then the one I would have voted for otherwise is because they're insecure.
If it's healthy, there won't be any jealousy. I don't think anything's ever pissed me off more. That's so false.
Okay. But I wasn't
so
looking at
wrong.
it as in like there won't be any jealousy. Okay, maybe it's just I'm associating jealousy with like the toxic anger mania that you're not dealing with. Because I do think that there will be jealousy. There's always going to be jealousy.
Thank you. Right.
But the healthy part threw me off.
Okay.
And so I think I'm just like interpreting it differently. But I do think if not that one, then it's because they're insecure. Because like, I don't know. I feel like the root of jealousy is insecurity, and it's a self thing.
And I definitely, I agree with that. I think, and we'll get into this a little later in the episode, but there's positive jealousy that can be inspiring and negative jealousy that can be like earth-shatteringly sad. Yeah. So I get it. But I do think when you're thinking about open relationships specifically, because remember, like these people, like, not are they elevated in the sense where they can't feel jealousy and they're perfect in relationships, but if you're going to be in an open relationship, you have to know that like jealousy, bare bones, is like insecurity. So it's assuming that they've moved past those insecurities and now it's like they're not really jealous or down on themselves. They just have like too much time on their hands and they're not like doing what they're supposed to be doing in their life. So they're thinking of like dumb reasons to get jealous. Okay. But it's all about interpretation.
Okay. See, I was looking at it as in they're not doing what they want to in life, as in like open relationships aren't for them.
Oh, no.
Like they should be doing monogamy.
Oh, no.
So I was reading the question way different. I was thinking like if it's healthy, then you're having the conversation, you're doing the work with yourself and you're not going to have any jealousy.
Right.
So we just
that's not how I should.
But I mean, everyone agrees with you, so
right. I was
interpreting
pop
it wrong.
Off. Yeah, maybe it was just you that didn't get it. No, I'm just kidding. But essentially, I did kind of get this like inspiration from this other YouTube video I watched that we will link down below. Why are you feeling jealous in open relationships? And they're the ones that talked about you're envious, you're jealous because you're not living your truth. You don't have enough going on, whereas that you are worried about this little mundane shit.
Right. And it's the same in monogamy a lot of times.
Right.
Or your partner cheated in the past and like you have abandonment wounds. But a lot of times, a lot of that shit comes from yourself.
Right. At the end of the day, always. So there's also this well-known YouTuber called Polly. There's also this well-known YouTuber called Polly Am Fam. Okay, this man has a lot of subscribers. But anyways, he had like kind of a basic video just about like tips on how to like get over jealousy in open relationships. And the ones that I liked were the following. The first one is jealousy comes from fear of the unknown. So you need to ask questions. And this is like when you're setting your open relationship, you're declaring boundaries. It's like, okay, like if you say you're going on a date with someone, what does that mean? Does that mean you're going to go get drinks and then it's over? Does that mean drinks and then a walk and then a fuck? Like, what does that mean? And what are the expectations? But it's even more important to know that it's like ever evolving. Like, yes, the expectation could be that we just, you know, do this and that and the other thing. But then you meet someone, you really hit it off, and then it becomes a little bit bigger. And it's like you have to decide if you're okay with that. Or it's like, no, if you cross the line, then you're cheating. So it's just like communication is everything when it comes to jealousy. Like, it's literally everything. And I think just the mere act of saying it out loud will help you understand and like put it into perspective. Like, it's not as big of a deal as maybe you think it is.
Right. It kind of reminds me of like, I think I was talking to about this with the last guy I was with, but like relationships are really like businesses, and especially like marriages and shit, where it's like you kind of, and I feel like my whole life I've been so opposed to structure, blah, 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 blah. But I realized that I need structure to like be free and to be able to grow. And I feel like having those kind of like, you could play a little what if game with your partner if you're in an open relationship. Yeah. And write it down, you know, with the objective that this is what we're following, but things might change and things might need clarification. Like, it's just like me and you having the podcast. Like, okay, you used to post this shit on this day and I used to post this shit. Sometimes it doesn't happen. Sometimes we switch, we communicate. Life is life. But if you leave everything open, then it's like, hey, Autumn, we're in a relationship. I'm going on a date. Now you're going to have a fucking mental breakdown because we never defined what a date is.
And like a festering grudge that will start to fume. That's a Sims reference, if you guys know The Sims. But anyways, it's like literally that's what will happen. And it's like, I really think that there's been times where I've communicated to my partner that I was jealous and I felt so much better. It was a great convo. Mm-hmm. And then there's times that I felt 10 times motherfucker
right, worse. Because they tweak out. And so much of it is time.
Or they just say like they are changing the boundary. It's ever evolving and I don't like it anymore. Yeah. And I'm now upset. And it's just like, going into it, that's why everyone's like, oh, like open relationships, like it's a free-for-all. Guys are like, oh yeah, that's lit, you can just fuck whoever. But it's like, no, dude, like it's actually so much work. Like, and arguably monogamists should have these conversations too, but they don't, you know what I mean? And it's like non-monogamy, you're fucking forced to, otherwise it's like, what are we doing?
And that's why I feel like honestly none of my relationships have ever worked out, because like I take relationships very seriously and I hold them like down to the people that I love. Like, I'm very loyal. I'm very fucking ride or die. But like, as much as I say all the time, like, oh, like emotions make me uncomfortable. Like, I'm detached. Like, I don't want to have conversations about certain shit. That's in the beginning. And that's when I don't feel safe and comfortable. But like genuinely, if I like love a person and if we're building a relationship, I want to have a lot of those uncomfortable conversations. And I think that they're important. But like, so many people, it's like you bring up, even in monogamy, something that's bordering on something you don't realize, or how do I phrase this? Bordering on something that goes against monogamy, or bordering on something that your relationship is in danger, you're going to break up, this person's going to cheat. When it's not, it's really like a foundation in securing your relationship and making you more safe. and then communication breaks down and you feel like you can't communicate.
Right.
And I've had that happen so many times in monogamous relationships where I'm like, I'm trying to be like, not just that I want to go fuck other people, but I see you as a whole person and I don't think you're fulfilled either. So like, let's figure this out together.
Right. And these conversations and these quote unquote relationship check-ins about boundaries, what it does is it does not allow room for you to like bottle shit down. Because there was times with my ex-boyfriend where we went months without having a relationship check-in about what the fuck. And it's like, then it's like just the conversation starter. I'm already in fucking tears, bro.
You're
because you have to do it consistently. Like you have to. Otherwise, it's just like you get so far off track. And it's like, I think we were killing it, me and my ex-boyfriend, with communication at the beginning. And I think it fell off. And like he was keeping things from me. And that's, you know, it didn't work out. Right. So as like annoying as it might be sometimes, because it's not always fun conversations to have, like at the end of the day, it is like just like fueling your relationship to last longer. And that's what you want. So it's good.
And it's so cringily healthy. Like it really like cringily. Honestly, if I had a partner that tried to do that with me, I would probably run away. I would probably run away because I always no, I would run away. Are you kidding me? I just talked about how this guy has his whole life together and I'm like,
and you're like not down. Yeah, I forgot.
Because I'm used to being the person that has it together and the other person doesn't. But yeah.
And then another tip from this video, the last one I want to share, is just to like continuously ask yourself why in order to dig deep on where the jealousy is actually coming from. This is an example created and written creatively by me. Why am I jealous of my partner's other lover? And then it's like, because she's bad as fuck. And then it's like, why am I jealous that she's bad as fuck? And it's like, because I don't feel bad as fuck. Mm-hmm. So it's like, you just keep going down the rabbit hole and you figure it out. Because again, it takes perspective out of it. It's not really about this other bitch. It's about you, bro.
Right. And the solution to that would not be to go to your partner and be like, I'm not feeling bad as fuck, make me feel bad as fuck. The solution would be go to a dance class, go put makeup on, go out to brunch with your friends, go do something away from the relationship that reminds you that you're dope outside of this relationship. Like that's what the solution would be.
And that is fucking good advice, bitch. Right. Away from the relationship. Don't go take a cute photo shoot and post it and be like, aren't we the shit?
I mean, like a little bit, because like honestly, that petty, spiteful shit, like I'll do it in like a classy way. You feel me? Because sometimes taking a hot photo shoot will make you feel bad as fuck. Do you want to make your partner a little jealous? Sure. I don't know. I don't know about that actually. But one thing I will say that has helped me with this when I was in my toxic relationship and I was trying to just unlearn attachment to a lot of things and like his decisions and like keeping solid in myself is like that On Purpose podcast with Jay Shetty, because he pulls a lot of things from like monk culture or like Buddhism and like religion, and so much of it is about like detachment and meditating and like going into yourself and just realizing that like you don't have attachment to anything really. You know, so that, like, I grew up very in religion and I'm not even really spiritual now, but like when I do feel like the best way I cope with stuff, it's when I meditate and I kind of just like go into myself and realize that nothing really fucking matters and I'm still alive and I'm still breathing and it's fine. You know?
Right. And that's how you get over jealousy too.
Right.
Exactly. So, but no, seriously though, because it's about you. It's not about the other people. And sometimes putting the focus on the other people like makes you feel a little bit better. It makes you feel a little bit more rage than sad. But it's like you need to get over it quickly. So we need to get to the root of the problem.
Right.
So now I want to talk a little bit about that positive jealousy versus negative jealousy. So this couple, Connor and Brittany on YouTube, they've been in an open poly relationship for over like 7 years. And they essentially have a literal like how to heal your jealousy in open relationships like program. And they like help people through that, like whatever. So essentially, when they had this video called "Will I Always Be Jealous in My Open Relationships?" Like, can we ever get past this, or is this like an ongoing thing we're gonna have to talk about for the rest of time? So in their video, they essentially tell the viewers to be curious about your jealousy, not like shameful about it. And that was my biggest struggle in mine, is I felt so much shame about it. So it's like, you don't want to force your jealousy away. They say, let's get intimate with it. That's what they use. Get intimate with your jealousy. And that's literally
like
kind of what we're...
play it?
Like, no, like just get like really close and like clear on like why you're feeling jealousy. Just like really go in, be intimate with the emotion itself.
Okay.
And see what it has to offer you. They said, like, what is this really trying to tell us? You know, it can be really scary. You have to learn so much about self-responsibility, like in these open relationships, like what's on me about why am I being jealous? It's not just because they did this action. It's like, I feel a certain way because I'm not elevating my self-worth, or I'm not practicing self-love, like whatever it might be. So for positive jealousy, instead of saying like, I want to change because, so say like you're man, you're in an open relationship and he fucks like a really bad bitch, tells you about it. Instead of saying like, you know, you got to that point in which you're like, I'm not jealous of that. I'm jealous because she's so hot. So instead of telling yourself like, okay, like I want to change because I lack that BBL body type that I want, and she has it and I'm jealous and I want it, whatever. You can say, I want to change because I am inspired to do so. So it's like taking this jealousy, like maybe not criticizing yourself and why you don't look a certain way, but rather this jealousy could inspire you in a positive way to
get a BBL,
to prioritize your body. Like, I don't know.
Okay,
that's
because
what they
in
said.
A way, I get it. In a way, because it's like you can appreciate the bad bitch and you can be like, she's a bad bitch. You know what? I don't hate her because I'm jealous of her. I love her because she's got a BBL and she's hot and she's rocking that. And if we met in a bar bathroom, we would probably be friends. Cool. But like the inspired thing, like I inspired
like
you in terms of like women. The women saw like women inspire me, but like inspire me to get a BBL, I don't know.
Well, maybe it was a bad example that I created.
No, I don't think it is though, because I feel like it's the same if like, oh, she's blonde and I'm not. Let me get a blonde wig. Like
Right. And then what they say about negative jealousy, it's like when you feel those I'm worthless because I don't have a BBL. It's like that's when you need to look deeper and it's insecure and worthless. But essentially, they've been in this relationship, and over 7 years later, Brittany says that, like, you know, in the beginning, Brittany and Connor, those are their names. And Brittany was like, in the beginning, like, I used to get so jealous all the time with Connor would have new partners, like, consecutively. Like, it would happen a lot frequently. And now 7 years later, she's like, I get excited because I know that when he has an abundance of love in his life, it makes him a better person. It makes the relationship more enjoyable for me. And it's good for everyone. So she jumped from being jealous to 7 years later being like, oh, I get excited.
Is she fucking other people?
Yeah, she is.
Okay, all right. Because if not, I was like, that sounds a little culty. But like, okay, that's what I think it should be, and I think that's good because like, same. But
getting excited is crazy.
I mean,
okay with it.
Like, yes and no, because like, I feel like to me, a lot of times, like, I try to put it in perspective of like, how would I treat my friend and my best friends? And I feel like with me and you, like, I'm always like very open, like very excited, very forgiving, like very like whatever about whatever you want to do. I'm going to love you regardless, and I'm going to give you advice, like whatever. So it's like, if it's my partner, which is hard, I'm not saying I've always practiced this in the best way, that has this new girlfriend, I could get angry about it, or I could be like, oh, she's really helping him fucking make his music, and he's happier because of that, because he was looking for a producer or something like that. Like, you know, like me being jealous is actually detracting from his life, and it's pulling us further apart in our relationship. Like, it's self-destructive.
Right.
So, and I wouldn't do that to you. So why would I do that to someone I love in a different way?
Yeah, I think comparing it to your friend is like so cool because I've never thought of that.
Yeah.
But it's so true. It's like, why can't we? Because it's like, it would be a lie if it's like you have all these other friends in your life that like feed you. So it's like, you don't need me to do everything for you, you know? And so it's like, you're able to be a better friend when you have more friends because you're more well-rounded. You can be more present, like whatever. So it's like, it's the same for relationships.
Right.
Like, why is one, like in monogamy, it's like that one person's responsible to give you the love, the protection, the
sex,
comedy, the everything.
Right.
And it's like, but for friends, it's like, we don't, like, you have friends for all different things. So, yeah.
Right. And that's why I think it's half being solid in yourself. And even with monogamy, if you are going to be monogamous with this person, it's still like, I think a lot of your like happiness and self-worth still falls on yourself and also like the other relationships in your life. So like,
right.
When those, but to me, I'm like, why is it okay if I'm in a monogamous relationship and I go get happiness by going to brunch with these bitches? Why is that less than me getting happiness by making out with someone for 5 minutes and then ghosting them? That doesn't equate to me because, you know what I'm saying? Like, that doesn't make sense, but it's our society, I think.
It's our society. It's because we learned that that's how it's supposed to be. But it's like, if you break it down and like forget if they're a friend, they're a lover, they're a situationship, whatever, it's like how we want to treat people and what the abundance that we want for people. It should be the same across parents, friends, relationships. Like, maybe not parents, but you know what I mean. Like,
yeah.
So that's a really good point, babe. All right. So now that we've talked about all this shit, let's bring it back a little bit, okay? Let's circle back. Let's zone out. And let's talk about some psychology shit about where jealousy even fucking comes from. This was requested by Fiji. She wanted to know, and I'm here to serve, bitch, okay? Mm-hmm. So we're going to talk about where jealousy comes from, and then is it possible to unlearn it? Which we already talked about a little bit. You know, our friends Connor and Brittany, they feel like they kind of did, whatever. So basically, I got this from Psychology Tuesday.
Our favorite.
And it says, research has linked several traits to greater jealousy. And I will list them. Number 1, low self-esteem. Number 2, neuroticism.
That's
a general tendency to be moody, anxious, and emotionally unstable.
Yup.
3, feelings of insecurity and possessiveness. 4, dependence on your partner. Yep. Even asking people to imagine that they don't have a good alternative partners leads to more negative reactions to hypothetical jealousy-inducing scenarios.
Wait, what? Wait, even asking people to imagine that they don't have alternative partners. Oh, so it's like hypothetically, if I was a worm, like that type of shit, where it's like, if you met Nicki Minaj, would you fuck her? That type of shit.
Yeah,
I was thinking more codependency.
Right.
Like how we used to be and like how most of my relationships have been. Yeah.
Right, bro. And then 5 is feelings of inadequacy in your relationship. So generally like that fear that you're not good enough for said partner, which, whoo, have I felt that? Jesus fucking Christ. Mm-hmm. And the last one is an anxious attachment style, a chronic orientation toward romantic relationships that involves fear that your partner will leave you or won't love you enough. Research has shown that temporarily causing people to feel more securely attached by asking them to think about receiving support, blah, blah, blah. So, yeah.
Okay, that, just real quick, I really think we should do an episode on anxious and avoidant attachment styles because it's so trendy on TikTok and, like, we're going to do it. Anyway, continue.
But, yeah, I think, like, overall, like, neuroticism's hilarious. Like, this article saying that neuroticism is a great link to jealousy.
Yeah.
But I guess it's like this list is like, if you are these things, if you do these things, like you're more prone to be jealous, essentially.
No, but I get that because like I don't know what my mental health is, you guys. Like, I know I have depression. I think I have ADHD. There could be some bipolar BPD in there. There's definitely substance abuse, addictive tendencies. But either way, I'm really fucking moody. And I know that, like, like we were talking about earlier when we were on a little pause and shit. Like, intellectually, I understand so many things. And if you come to me in the right fucking moment, I'm perfect. I understand everything. If you come to me when I'm not in the right moment, I will be a raging cunt. And like, that is neuroticism.
Yeah, I feel that. So we are neuroticism.
So is it timing? That's why I'm like, timing is so important. But I'm also like,
but
it is, but it's also like when you're fucking with neurotic bitches like us, you also got to know that like the timing doesn't always matter because it could just be our timing.
Bro, there was this, like, I was at Barnes & Noble the other day, like, with my roommate, and there was this, like, baby toy, and it was, like, flashcards of different emotions, and my roommate's like, I'm gonna buy this, so before I come home, you can put yours on the table, because literally.
Yes, like the stuffed animal that you can turn inside out. No, bro, because
I'm like, you're honestly, so extra.
It's so funny because I've always liked guys, not always, but like the last dude I was fucking with the situationship and then my ex, both moody as fuck, like almost putting me to shame sometimes because, you know, I've gotten more healthy coping mechanisms because I know how I can be. But like, it kind of turns me on too. Like, I love a neurotic person. I
know you do. I know you do. But it's just interesting to kind of know. Like, they really break it down. But I feel like what's more interesting is it possible to unlearn jealousy? And I got this from polylife.com. It's actually a really cool site. Like, their article was good. And, like, I don't like reading articles. Like, and I thought it was really good.
And we love that.
And so I'm just going to, like, paraphrase it. But essentially, it was like, to unlearn jealous behaviors, we have to unlearn generations of blind acceptance about what it means to be in a human relationship. I was like, and they killed it. I was like, that's so good. But it was like, the first step is to recognize and accept that fear goes hand in hand with jealousy. Accepting the fear means we no longer fear. We accept that feeling fear means that our brain is sending us a message about being under threat. That's okay. Situation normal.
Wait. I know you like this article because this is how you type.
Right.
How you talk. Like, I was like, says that's okay. Okay is in capital letters, exclamation mark. Like, that's kind of how you talk. It's cute. I like it.
I'm screaming. But it's like, yeah, it's saying, you know, essentially to avoid the destruction that most often associated with jealous behaviors, we need to wait for a report to come back from our thinking brain before we wait, what the fuck?
Okay, yes. See, this is what the fuck I'm saying. Because this is why bitches need 14 to 48 hours to talk to you again. Because I know my brain and it is psychotic. And based off of my trauma and based off of how this bitch is wired, I will tweak on your ass. And sometimes you just need to leave. Like, sometimes you just need to leave me alone. So that's what it's saying. You got to wait till you're brain, because there's this whole other thing. I used to listen to this podcast. I wish I could remember the name of it, but it talks about like how like we have evolved as a society so much faster than our human bodies have. Like, your brain interprets danger in the sense of like, oh my God, like there's an animal, like I need to like protect myself. I need to protect my children. And your brain just reacts because at the end of the day, we're still fucking animals. We don't know, like our brains don't know and have not adapted to the fact that like we live in this like very privileged society where we don't experience that type of danger, like physical harm as much. So much of the time when we're experiencing that like quick trauma response, whatever, it's your brain like playing tricks on you. And so that you got to like pull it down from like, you're at a 10, we got to go to a 2 before you.
Right. We're jealous about an Instagram picture. We're not being chased by a lion right now type shit.
Exactly.
Right. So, okay. So that makes sense. So then they were like, so the change in our cognition goes something like this. Threat is felt. Fear is felt. we think about what is valuable. Is it valuable? Are we focused on the right thing? Are we honest about what we're feeling? Can we communicate about it with respect and honesty to our partner? Can you overcome your immediate fears and meet the problem with respect? If we can, then when we practice and emulate what we want to feel, it will begin to become the new pattern of behavior, your new default way of reacting to feeling things of jealousy. So it's like you're unlearning like what happens next. Like you feel jealous and then what happens? That's what you need to unlearn, like rephrase it in your brain, right?
Yeah, and it's called thought work. Like, well, that's what I've heard it called. Like there's this podcast I used to listen to. I haven't listened to it in a while, but I can link it if I find it. But like thought work is essentially like using your thoughts and your thinking brain to talk yourself down from your bodily emotions. And I do it all the time, bitch, but that's why I seclude, because if I didn't, I would be throwing things.
Right. Okay. And then they end it with, what is the value that is threatened? Learning what is of real value to you is an eye-opening realization. When you decide that the person you love is what you value, instead of social expectations, status, reputation, feelings, or service they give you, it changes the conversation around the type of threat you feel. You create real and valuable connections with your partner that you both have a unique understanding of.
I love that.
Right?
That is beautiful, because that's kind of what we were talking about with the friendship thing. And that's why I feel like it works with a lot of friendships, because it's like, I mean, when you get sex involved and you have oxytocin and all this shit, like it makes it a little bit more complicated because there's more of those hormonal brain shit going on. But like, yeah, if you think about it like that, like they said, like a scale almost, it makes it so easy.
I know. And it's just like, and again, it's like intellectually, yes, love it, beautiful. In practice, like this shit takes years, bro, to unlearn that. Just like it takes a lifetime to unlearn misogyny. You know what I mean? It's like all of these things are standards. Like monogamy is like a fucking construct shit in our society too.
And that's why it's like with all this shit, I don't think we can ever reach this enlightened, miraculous place where we don't experience it. The best we can do is live a happier life and leave a better society for future generations. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, if you want to have kids, acknowledge it. Like,
don't hide that shit, because that's what happens in monogamous relationships. You feel jealous, but you don't say anything because you're ashamed of it, blah, blah, blah. That's just going to make you continuously be jealous, because it's never really about that partner. It's more about you and how you feel. So it's just like, you know, like it's in, I feel like people are so afraid of like speaking out about jealousy because it is like cringy and it's giving low self-worth and all that shit.
Embarrassing, yeah.
But it's real. It's not though, because if we all just normalize it as a human thing that we experience, but also understand that like the way that we've been going about jealousy is kind of toxic and not self-serving or serving for anyone, and try to like think about jealousy like this and like really dig deep, like you bitches like to do inner child healing. We need to do inner jealousy healing. Because it's like, especially if it's like, because it's also like it's a trait on The Sims too, and it's a trait in real life. It's like
that. I get why you like The Sims then.
Dude, The Sims is literally a simulation of real life, bro. Like you can make it.
But it seems a little healthier. At least they're labeling the emotions and being like,
yeah, no, my Sims are they are fucking healed, booked, and busy. Like I don't know, but what I was gonna say is like it's also like, oh, are you the jealous type? And I think that's why there's a stigma that it's not normal, because it's like either you're the jealous type or you're not. And my own mom has like said forever that she's not the jealous type. I'm like, the fuck does that even mean?
See, because like, that ties it to identity. When you
and it's like bad if you are the jealous type. But I think it's like okay if you're not jealous, go off. But like your trauma and insecurities will show up somewhere else in your life,
right?
Like, you know,
it's more about coping mechanisms, because like saying you're the jealous type or saying you're not the jealous type, like that's tying it to your identity and your core of like a person, versus being like, I've unlearned my jealousy, or jealousy is not one of the emotions I struggle more with. For me, it's more like insecurity or like something else, you know?
Yeah.
Because once we realize everybody fucking, like, people feel certain different degrees based on how they were brought up or like their brain chemistry, whatever. And you don't have to compare yourself to other people, but like everyone is fighting their brains every day.
Right. Every single day. And it does make me feel better to know that like jealousy is not just about being insecure.
Right.
Like there are more factors here, especially it's like when you talk about this whole like institutionalized system of monogamy, the Roman Catholic Church, it's like this is not like a unique experience. Like we all feel jealous and like think it's wrong to love more than one person because that's like the world that's how it was originated, that it was wrong. So it's like, it's not just that we have low self-worth. It's also like an impossible battle. It's like, there's no way we could have been born like thinking differently about these things, you know, like it's just like, it is what it is. And if we all just do the work and like acknowledge it with each other, it'll be way better than it is right now. All right. So let's get into some listener stories. Okay. This first listener said, coming from someone who has practiced poly since high school, I no longer believe it's good or healthy. I think poly people have attachment wounds and can't be alone, with a surprised face emoji. And maybe this is something that like a lot of people think and like haven't like said. Like, I don't know. I've heard a lot of stigmas, but I haven't really heard this. But I think coming from someone that's actually done it and then has this realization, you mean like that's real. You know what I mean? That's real.
Yeah, and that's kind of similar to you a little bit.
Right, because right when you said yeah, it's like I can tell that you're a little bit drunk. That was cute. Okay.
Bitch.
I know. It's like but I've never thought that it was because people can't be alone. I have always looked at it in a positive light where it's like, it's people that understand that like you can't get all your love from one person and everyone's better off if we're able to like get different areas and have abundance and all of that. But I believe that it might not be good or healthy for certain individuals. Maybe it's not good or healthy for me, you know?
Yeah. Well, I think it's interesting because I never really thought of the like couldn't be alone thing. Like I associate that more with like monogamous people who have serial monogamous relationships. Yeah, but I think it definitely can be poly people too if they're always like, oh, like I need to have like a primary partner or multiple partners, like because they can't sit alone with their emotions or work through their own shit, so they're constantly having these relationships with other people because they're never dealing with themselves. Like I never really thought of that, but
I think it can get there in some like forms and types of like poly relationships. And obviously like there are so many, and then there's so many types that maybe we don't even know about, like a specific set of boundaries that someone's doing. Yeah. But I definitely can see this. Like if you are like always going on dates, like always want to, if you're not with your primary partner, you're with your secondary partner. If you're not with them, you're with your third partner. Like,
yeah, but
you know,
go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, like, I can see how it could get there.
Yeah, I will say, like, the one thing is, like, if you know it's not good for you and you've experienced it and you don't want it, like, completely get that, completely understand. But the one thing is, since they said, like, since high school, like, okay, I thought they just practiced it in high school, but maybe they practiced it since high school, like, out of high school. Because I was going to say, if it was just in high school relationships, like, you know, like you can obviously develop trauma from your high school relationships and then that can like impact the rest of your relationships. But I think like as you grow to be an adult, your relationships can be a lot different. And so like maybe give it a chance again. But if it's been like you've practiced it outside of high school as well, like while you were an adult and you still feel like it's not for you, like definitely like at least you can say you tried it and it's not for you, you know?
Right. And then move on. It's fine. Right.
Yeah. Okay, this next one is kind of long. Okay, so this person said, 2 of my best friends are married and poly, objectively happiest couple I know today, and no doubt in their love and admiration for each other. I think any relationship, even poly, has that monogamous window where you're solely dating each other and you have your time of admiration, connection, and honeymoon phase. But eventually you have the primal instinct and attraction for others. And not even sexually, I mean emotionally, intellectually, or spiritually. Not that I'm religious, but energy-wise. But I believe you have that person, and best friend, but I don't see the problem in admiring other women or men you too find attractive and embracing your instincts in sync rather than denying your urge. It's what makes us eventually feral and wanting to cheat. Like the poly couple who's married, they had their brick. Oh, brick. Okay, sorry. They had their brick on the pedal moment at first, but now they just date another couple and have no interest right now in others and think that's because they have the ability and freedom to see others if they wanted to. And that's my TED Talk. And I completely get this. And I think it's way more fucking common than we think, especially with long-term couples and married couples. Like, I promise you, I know when I was in high school, it was like rumors going around. We were all like, hee hee ha ha, oh my God. Because like some of the parents were rumored to be swingers. At my old jobs, there were definitely people I worked with that were rumored to be swingers. And it's this big stigma thing. But should it be? I don't know. Because we look at people who are swingers like, oh, there's definitely something wrong with their relationship. Or like, oh, they're just super horny and they need to get over themselves or they need to figure that out, like whatever. But it's usually monogamous people who are not happy in their relationships that are judging them. And like this person said, this couple was about to like end it. Like they were both not happy. And then they had this breakthrough of this could work for us.
Right. And I'm like, because the swingers thing where it's like you switch and then it's like individual, y'all are fucking in separate bedrooms. I could never get with that.
Really?
But I have, no.
Why though?
Because like, no. Okay. The answer is no. And but with my ex-boyfriend, it's like, I would fantasize about a really dumb lesbian fucking me and him fucking me also, but they don't touch each other. And he was down. And so that's kind of like, it's like we both find this person attractive and then we're going to go after it together. But I think at the end of this as well, they said like they had the ability and freedom to do it if they wanted to, which is something we touched upon a lot, which is like really important for me. That's like really what it is at the end of the day that appeals to me so much. And like, not just like because I think it is, like I remember specifically, like even though it was hard for me in these open relationships, that was what was like, okay, well, it's really not that bad because I have this.
Yeah. And I like the part that they said, like how you have this primal instinct and like you don't want to deny yourself of it. Instead, you're like accepting it. And I think that goes to like the stuff about the brain that we were talking about. As much as jealousy is a thing, so is like validation and like flirting and like sexual turn-ons and like all of that. But I also like how he said that they're objectively the happiest couple he knows and they're married. Like, how many married couples do we know that are actually I'm drunk. How many married couples do we know that are actually happy or just long-term monogamous couples? Like usually they reach like a 3-year, 4-year mark where they might be pretending and it's not really happy anymore. So like that's dope.
I think the reason this person started with that, like right at the beginning of their TED Talk, was because there is that stigma about it not really working out. And this person is saying like, you know, objectively speaking, they're like a takeaway poly and everything. They're the happiest couple that I know. And that really says something, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I love this. Love them and rooting for them all the fucking way. But all right. I think it's time to
wrap up. No. So go ahead. You want to? Okay.
So let's wrap up the episode as we always do, talking about what we're wet, dry, and confused about this topic. I will go first.
Okay.
I'm just wet in general, honestly, about open relationships.
Our growth. Sorry.
Okay, yeah, we always say that. But I'm wet about open relationships, and I'm really, like, wet about, like, me figuring out what it is I really want. And I'm glad that I'm doing this while I am alone, because I think now's the time and I know what to look for in the next partner. Even if I do get in a monogamous relationship, I want to have a lot of these conversations that people in open relationships are having and figure out what works for us because monogamy doesn't have to be so fucking like solidified in the way that society has created it. I'm also definitely wet about learning from your experiences. Like, I think it's so cool to have a best friend that has had very different type of relationships than my own, because like in helping you get through these things and learning from you and being there with you, like I've just learned so much, you know? Yeah. Well, for one of them though, we weren't friends for part of it. So that one I didn't know as much. But still, like, it's just so dope to learn from your experiences because it humanizes it. You're not just like, oh, this is like this weird thing that goes against society. You're like, I know an actual person and they've had these experiences. So I love that. What about that?
Yeah, I would say I agree with all of that. I would say I'm wet on my like personal like growth on unlearning jealousy, because I think I really used to be so much more jealous than I was. And I think from my first open relationship, like I was unlearning it because I was like kind of forced to. Otherwise, I was going to be upset all the time.
Right.
And then I think when I got to my next open relationship with my ex-boyfriend, like, yes, it was still hard, but like I did not care like nearly as much. And I also think I expected less of him. So that's like part of it. But I'm just wet about that. And I feel like I haven't been unlearning my jealousy in terms of like really looking inward and journaling. But like I have like had so many conversations. I've like have a lot of practice of having like the jealousy conversation and boundaries and all that bullshit. But I'm wet about open relationships too. Like I think it's cool to just even talk about and like entertain. And like I said, like I'm wet about, you know, I hope the next person that like I'm into romantically, like I think a reason it would really turn me on is if someone was also like not necessarily poly all the way, but someone that was intrigued and like thought that maybe it could be a better way to live. I think that would like turn me on, because I'd be like, yeah, same. Like, let's talk about it.
Yeah, especially if they had like some education that they were bringing to the table with it versus you just teaching them everything.
Right.
Yeah, I think I'm dry, obviously, about the stigma, obviously about society and how we're just like pushed this monogamy fucking narrative that isn't always healthy. Like there are other options. I'm also definitely dry about like our brains and how they're wired to fucking destroy us. Like there is no lion. Like we have homes and healthy bodies and all this other shit.
Right.
I'm also dry about why more people just don't go to therapy, because I think a lot of this really is like thought work, or at least like listen to podcasts to educate yourself. Like if you guys are listening, you're already on a better fucking start. Not that all of our advice is always the healthiest. Some of it is toxic. Seek out other resources from real therapists and all of that stuff. We're not giving medical advice. But I still think like, you know, I wish more people were curious about this stuff. Like I'm dry that more people don't realize that they might be the problem. And I think that that breaks down a lot of relationships and prevents us to, you know, realizing that monogamy is not it and that there's other options and all that stuff.
And that's what we talked about, like this jealousy shit. It's about like having self-responsibility about where you play the part, you know? Right. So, yeah, I'm dry about the society shit. I'm dry that monogamy is the norm, all that. And I'm dry about the stigma. I feel like it's just like really real. And it's like, I hate when people like look at you sideways or crazy because you do like open relationships. It's like, how could you do that to yourself? Like, I don't understand that. I don't understand that. It's like, okay, cool. Then
you don't have to.
Don't.
Yeah. And I think this, one of the other things with the stigma that we didn't completely talk about, and I think it'd be a different episode, but is like the over sexualization of the stigma.
Right.
Which is a big thing where people will be like, oh, like they're just a hoe, or oh, they're just super horny or whatever. And it's not always that. Like some of it
Men
isn't
and
even
women
sexual.
both.
Yeah, both. But for confused, I'm confused about the line, I think, between like when you need to work on it yourself and, you know, internalize it and go to therapy and work through it that way, versus when it's like maybe the relationship's not working for you, or like, you know, because again, it's that whole like intellectually, you know, emotionally you don't. Where is the balance between where it's actually helping you be inspired and achieve growth versus like causing you long-term trauma and making you a more insecure person? And like, because polyamory also does have the stigma that's tied to polygamy, where it's like more like cult like shit. Like even with one of the YouTube videos you mentioned, like I can still be skeptical on those senses, because like I think whenever you're stepping away from something that's like a societal norm and you're trying to do something different, it can be healthy and it can lead to a better society, but it can also potentially go down this cult-like way where this person is like manipulating you and controlling you, because if you don't have like your own knowledge and whatever. So like that's the part that's a little iffy for me. But I think it's just more education and knowing really who you are, what your standards are, all of that shit.
That was such a good confused, Fiji.
Thank you.
That was because, like, same, bitch. Like, I fucking feel you, because I really, like, with my ex-boyfriend, it's like, was that a healthy open relationship, or was that like a pretend open relationship? When I was like saying we're open, to be like, no, like he's not taking advantage of me.
Right. Like, you're almost like reclaiming it because you're right. Where's the line between?
Right. Where's the line? And I think it's just like with the right person, it's like you'll know. And I think like when you're doing the work to unlearn your jealousy in a specific relationship, as you're like thinking about it, it'll I feel like you'll realize whether it's you or if it's just like this person is like not good for you, like as you're doing that work. So maybe that'll help or whatever. But yeah, I don't know. I'm just like confused about the whole thing about like jealousy being normal confuses me, and the whole thing about like I'm the jealous type but you're not confuses me, because if jealousy is normal and we're all acknowledging that this is an emotion that we all feel, is the jealous type thing, is that just another way for like society to categorize us? Like I feel like that's also like a movie thing. I don't know.
Yeah. No, you're right, because again, like how I said earlier, like when you tie it to your identity, it feels more permanent. But some people really do just feel less jealousy than other people. So then it's, again, where's that line, and how much of it is like work you need to do versus like whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. And maybe it's like people that are less jealous. It's like I said before, like their insecurities are just like maybe coming out in something else. It's like maybe they feel jealousy. They just don't feel jealousy within like relationships.
Right.
And I don't know. That's their superpower, I guess.
Or they're neurotic in a different way. It's not always insecurity. It could be neuroticism.
Right. Exactly. But yeah, I think that about does it for this episode, guys. I really hoped you liked it. Wherever you are, if you could please subscribe and follow and like and comment, it would mean so much to us. Help us hit our quarterly plan goals.
Yes. I'm making spreadsheets, bro. Like I check them every week. Like we have goals. We really, at the end of the day, we just want to build our community. We want you guys to be involved. We really appreciate every single one of you that post responses and all of that. I'm also getting really drunk, if you can't tell.
It submits to our polls. Yeah. And so we also are active on Instagram and TikTok like every week, like sometimes every day. Like we try to post as much as we can. Like we do skits, we have memes. It's a great time. We also want to get our Twitter back up and running, and all of those platforms, literally everywhere. We are at So Wet, So Dry. The O's are zeros. And yeah.
Yeah. And we also have listener support. If you guys are listening on Spotify, even if you're not, head over to Spotify. We have listener support, 99 cents, $4.99 or $9.99 a month. Just to be completely fucking transparent with you guys, we're not getting paid right now. We make zero money from this podcast. We had brand deals in the past, and we have made a microscopic amount of money from ads a while ago, but like this is all out of pure delusional fucking determination. So, and you know, support us. You could be one of the first, you know, when we
how
make
exciting
it.
Is that for you?
Like screenshot our Instagram number, because one day it will be bigger
immediately,
and you could be like, bitch, I was one of the first to provide listener support. So we love you. Please do that. Even if you don't, I still love you. Thank you for following us.
And if you're on Spotify, also give us a rate. Rate us 5 stars. If you want to rate us 4 stars or under, just don't do it.
I can take a 4. A 4 I can accept.
No, bitch.
I mean, we're 4.8 on Spotify right now.
That's
so, yeah,
pretty
preferably
good.
5. It was 5. I don't know who brought us down, but
Oh,
it's probably a hater in my personal life.
But yeah, we hope you guys like this episode. And as always, our email is also open for topic ideas and suggestions at so wet so dry the O's are zeros at gmail.com. And we will catch you guys next week in the next episode. Okay, bye. I've pretty much done it consistently with the majority of people that I've been with. And it's ranged from like the vanilla, no stop, like pretending I don't want it when I really do, to like more like essay territory rate play. Like I have done that. Okay. I have done that. And it's something I feel a little nervous talking about on the internet.